The Blue Jays battle the Yankees beginning today. The Mariners open a season series with the Marlins also tonight. But what has gone down before the two teams we are talking about go head to head against their respective opponents? Where do the standings stand since the series between these two teams, the Blue Jays and the Mariners? I am Scott McGregor, and this is Blue Jays Game Recap. Let's find out how the second final homestand and second homestand of the 2025 season for the Toronto Blue Jays went down, and it starts right now. Lights up. Let's go.
The Blue Jays are back, and right now, with the game having gone final, we are welcoming you in to Blue Jays Game Recap on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Now, let's go to your hosts of Blue Jays Game Recap, Thomas McGregor, Ali Musa, and Scott McGregor in the Sports for Beginners podcast studio. Take it away, gentlemen, because when the umpire says, "You're out," or "That's the game," or "Let's play ball," we know it's time for some baseball. This is Blue Jays Game Recap. Take it away, gentlemen.
Lights up. Let's go. Welcome in, Blue Jay fans. Welcome in, Mariners fans, to another exciting edition of Blue Jays Game Recap. For those who have been with us since the recording and publish of Penguins postgame, Penguins and the Capitals, we welcome you in for Baseball Conversations. This is our second of two Blue Jay game recaps on our Triple Trouble. I am your host, Scott McGregor. Our topic of conversation this time on Blue Jays game recap is the Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays, who did battle in a 3-game series with Seattle from April the 18th to April 20th, 2025. We'll get into the games in just a moment, but first I want to remind you that, as we will do so later in the show, I want to remind you that the Blue Jays will be in Seattle on the second weekend of May 2025. That also will be when the New York Yankees come to town. And speaking of the New York Yankees, the Yankees host the Blue Jays starting today as the Blue Jays continue a 6-game road trip that has started with a bit of a blunder. I guess you could call the homestand, since the Blue Jays lost the last two to Seattle, but also took 2 out of 3 against the Atlanta Braves, winning both on Jackie Robinson Day and on a school day. And they also lost 8-4. So I guess you could say the Jays went 3-3 at home in this one. And that actually is the case because they took 2 out of 3 against the Braves, 1 out of 3 against the Mariners. We're going to get to it all in a little bit. But then their road trip kind of started with a bit of a blunder as they were unable to score a run against Houston in Game 1. Scored a run in both Game 2 and Game 3, but Houston still came out on top. But before we go off topic here, we're talking about the Mariners and the Blue Jays. That was the series that wrapped things up for the second homestand of the season for Toronto. And with that said, let's not waste any more time and get right into it. We're going to kick things off with a meeting on the mound. But before we get there, I'll get to the standings a little bit later. Before we get to that, however, let's bring you the coaching staff, specifically the managers. They are John Schneider and Dan Wilson. Dan Wilson and John Schneider going head-to-head at the Rogers Center. The starting rotation would see Bowden Francis and Brian Wu get the start in game number 1 as that kicks off our meeting on the mound. Our second meeting on the mound comes at these two pitchers, Jose Berrios and Logan Gilbert. And then it was Easton Lucas versus Luis Castillo in our third meeting on the mound. In the third meeting on the mound, and of course the second meeting on the mound, we had a Seattle victory, but Seattle kind of sweated. Seattle kind of sweated in game number 2, which was on Saturday. And now that our meeting on the mound is done, along with our management, before we take the first break of the program, let's jump into the line score of game 1, in which the Blue Jays won 3-1. Here's the line score in its fullest, home runs and stolen bases included. For the Blue Jays, 3 runs on 7 hits, no errors. They stole 1 base, left 6 men on base, had 8 total bases, and no home runs to speak of. For the Mariners, 1 run on 5 hits, 1 home run, 9 total bases, 1 stolen base, 4 left on base, and no errors. Top performers and the player of the game. The player of the game went to Addison Barger, who was 0 for 4 in the game. Top performers were starting pitchers Brian Wu and Bowden Francis. Bowden went 6 innings. Bowden went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 1 earned run, struck out 5 Mariners. Brian Wu struck out 4 Blue Jays, going 7 innings of work and giving up 7 hits on 3 earned runs. And the other top performer from Seattle is Rowdy Tellez. Home run, a walk, or in short form is BB. He had an RBI and a run scored. All right, the pitching line coming up after we get through all of the games, but we'll get to the scoring of Game 1 before we get to Game 2's line score, and of course Game 3's line score will follow after that, and then the scoring before we jump into the pitching line for all games. One thing to note, Game 2 had quite a scene develop in the 4th inning, but we'll talk about that more in a bit. When we return to Blue Jays game recap, the Blue Jays and the Mariners, it's time to break down how this game on Friday, April 18th, 2025, ended in a Blue Jays 3-1 win. Then we'll go to our line score for Game 2, which was Saturday. And if we are able to get in there, we'll get into the scoring of that one. During the line score for Game 2, just like we did for Game 1, we will bring you the player of the game and top performers of that one as well. Yes, it's not a joke though. The benches did clear in a little bit of an exchange between Jose Berrios and Cal Raleigh of relaying pitches. It's no joke. It's no joke. It actually happened. Funnily enough, it was happening during Blue Jays Central Update at Rogers Center. For all of us that were at Rogers Center, right under Jamie Campbell, host of Blue Jays Central's nose. With that said, we'll break down the game, scoring from Game 1. Next, get into the line score of the extra 12 innings in Game 2. Everything in between. We'll get to Game 3, and then after Game 3 is broken down, before we get to the players of the series, we will get to the pitching line for both Seattle and Toronto in all 3 games. And still lots more to come, so stay right with us. Sports for Beginners, the podcast you can see behind me in our background here, is back with more Blue Jays game recap as our Triple Trouble rolls on in just a matter of moments.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Blue Jays Game Recap, the second edition of our Blue Jays Game Recap programs and last part of our Triple Trouble. Earlier in the program, we talked about the Mariners and the Blue Jays. Line score for Game 1. We talked about who was on the mound for both the Mariners and the Blue Jays. We mentioned we were going to get into the current standings later in the show, and we are going to stick to that promise. So, since we last left off after going over the starters for all three games in this series between Seattle and Toronto from Friday, April 18th to Sunday, April 20th. That's last weekend, to the exact. And as we speak, the Marlins and the Mariners are going to start a 3-game set tonight in a few hours at 6:40 p.m. Pacific time. The Blue Jays, weather permitting, again, same thing for Seattle, they will start a 3-game series with the New York Yankees tonight at 7:05 p.m. Eastern, 6:05 p.m. Central. Looking forward to that. The Mariners' first game, by the way, is at 6:40 p.m. Pacific time against the Marlins, which means it will be at 9:40 p.m. Eastern, 8:40 p.m. Central. All right, moving on and moving back to where we're talking. Let's break this game down. We broke it down in line score earlier. Let's talk about the game itself. And we'll move right into game number 2 after the scoring is done. Here we go with game 1 on April the 18th, 2025 at Rogers Center. First and foremost, the umpiring crew for this game and the games Saturday and Sunday. We had at home plate Jansen Villasconte. Mr. Jansen, if I pronounced your last name wrong, my sincerest apologies. Same thing for any other umpires. Brock Baloo was the third baseman. third base umpire, I should say. At second base, we had Andy Fletcher, and Malachi Moore. Malachi Moore was the first base umpire. Jansen V, as I will say just in case I pronounce the last name wrong, was the home plate umpire calling the balls and strikes for this game. That took place in front of 40,263 fans, and the Blue Jays winning the game 3-1. Here's how it happened. Beginning in the bottom of the first inning with an Anthony Santander sacrifice fly to score Bo Bichette and give Toronto a lead, Rowdy Tellez would counter in the top of the second inning with his second home run of the season to tie the game in the top of the second inning. Bottom of the second inning, we go and Alan Roden with a sacrifice fly of his own scores George Springer. Blue Jays go up 2-1. Bottom of the fourth, we go. Flipping from the bottom and top of the third, we go to the bottom of the fourth, we go. And Alejandro Kirk scores the final run of the game for the Blue Jays on a single into center field. George Springer scores the run. It's 3-1 Blue Jays, and that is where the final score would go in a game that saw the Blue Jays come in at a record of 11-8, and the Mariners came in at a record of 10-9. Their record going into game 2 would be 10-10. Record for the Blue Jays, 12-8. Records currently are not that, but they were that heading into game 2 of this series between Seattle and Toronto. Game 2 went in to, yes, it went into extra innings. Starters on the mound did not receive the win, and they were not top performers or the player of the game. Line score in team comparison for this game. We'll start with the Mariners. 8 runs on 10 hits, 2 home runs, 18 total bases. They left 12 men on base, did not steal a base in this game, and no errors were recorded in this one, just like the first game. For the Blue Jays, 4 runs on 12 hits, no home runs, 14 total bases, 2 stolen bases. They left 14 men on base, no errors. Top performers were Cal Raleigh, 2 for 3 in the ball game, with a double, 3 walks, 2 RBIs, and a run scored. and a run scored. Ben Williamson, a home run, a double, RBI, and 2 runs scored. He went 2 for 6 in the game, was the other top performer for Seattle. The player of the game went to the former Blue Jay, Rowdy Tellez, 1 for 6 on the day. a home run, struck out twice, 4 RBIs, and the only top performer for the Blue Jays was Andres Gimenez, a double, a run scored, and a stolen base. He went 3 for 6 in this one. Starters in Game 2, in case you missed it, in the meeting on the mound, it was Jose Barrios versus Logan Gilbert. And here's how it went down in Game 2. Let's go into it right now. Maybe I'll save extra innings part for Game 3, but we'll see how things go. We went over the scoring in Game 1 off the top of this segment. Let's see if we can get through Game 2's scoring after we just went over who the starters of the game were and our line score. Besides the team comparison, the line score once again was for the Blue Jays, 4 runs on 12 hits, no errors. For the Mariners, 8 runs on 10 hits, no errors. In the bottom of the first, we start things off with an Anthony Santander single on a ground ball into right field. Miles Mastrobuoni was the right fielder at the time. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. scoring on the play. And the Blue Jays take a 1-0 lead. The Blue Jays challenged a fair or foul ball in the outfield, and the call was upheld. So, Cal Raleigh doubles for his fourth double of the season on a line drive to right fielder Anthony Santander. Ben Williamson and J.P. Crawford score. So not only does the Cal Raleigh double in the top of the 5th get Seattle on the board, but it also leads to Seattle taking a 1-run lead. It's 2-1. Bottom of the 5th we go. And we got a Alejandro Kirk single to tie the game. Andres Gimenez scores the run. It is tied 2-2 in the bottom of the 5th. To the bottom of the 6th we go. And the Blue Jays will take a lead again. Right field is where Bo Bichette will get a single. Ernie Clement will score on the play. It's 3-2 Toronto. But in the top of the 7th, Ben Williamson, first home run of the season. Fly ball to left field. We are tied again. It's the Mariners 3 and the Blue Jays 3. 3-3. Fast forward past the 8th, 9th, and 10th inning, allowing the 11th inning. And it's in the top and bottom of the 12th where things come to fruition. First, in the top half of the 12th, Randy Arozarena scores J.P. Crawford on a nice single into right field. There were 2 other players on base. They were Cal Raleigh, who goes to second base on the play, and Leo Rivas. And Leo Rivas. I'll go with Leo R, who goes to third base on the play. Then a grand slam and the second of 3 home runs Rowdy Tellez will hit in the series. His second home run of the series was his third of the season. And it came in the extra inning game in the top of the 12th. After Randy Arozarena made it 4-3, it's a 1-run lead for Seattle. And guess what? Rowdy Tellez makes it 8-3, which makes it a 5-run lead for Seattle. But Toronto is able to only lose by 4 runs, thanks to a George Springer groundout that scored Anthony Santander, which would make up our final score 8-4 in favor of Seattle. Pitching line coming up after the Game 3 breakdown. And as we prepare to take a break, let's give you a look at the line score from the team comparison side of things. We'll get to the scoring of that game, the top performers, and that will lead us to our pitching line momentarily. But I do want to make sure that everyone knows, and I know you all do know, or everyone does know, but in case you don't, or in case you might have missed it, in the 4th inning before the Blue Jays came up to bat, tensions rose between Cal Raleigh of the Mariners and Jose Barrios of the Blue Jays. Here's your line score for Sunday's game in team comparison. The line score in team comparison for the Mariners, 8 runs on 12 hits, 3 home runs, 22 total bases, no stolen bases, 7 men left on base for the Mariners in this one, no errors. For the Blue Jays, 3 runs on 11 hits, no home runs, 15 total bases, no stolen bases in this one, 1 error, and they left 12 men on base. All right. When we return, Easton versus Luis. How did Seattle wind up taking 2 out of 3 against Toronto? Our pitching line in all 3 games for Seattle and for Toronto. It all comes your way next. And still to come, the players of the series. A look at the current standings where they stand now heading into the games tonight for Seattle and Toronto. A look at the series prior to the series that begin tonight. And of course, prior to upcoming series still to come in the month of April and into the month of May. We'll get to that all along with On Deck next time on Blue Jays Game Recap. All of that still to come. But first, time to break down the scoring of a game that did not go to extra innings, but almost ended the same way the extra inning game did on Saturday. Final scores as we take a break here. Blue Jays winning Friday's game 3-1. Mariners won in extra innings on Saturday, 8-4. And the Mariners also beat the Blue Jays 8-3 on Sunday. We'll break down that in scoring next. Stick with us.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Welcome back to Blue Jays game recap. Blue Jays Mariners. 2 games in the books. We went over the managers, went over the game umpiring crew from game 1. Same umpiring crew for game 2 and game 3. Our managers, in case you missed it in the opening, are John Schneider and Dan Wilson. 2 games in the books. Let's get to game number 3. The line score, in case you missed it, we'll just go over, besides the team comparison, what we have here. And that was the Mariners with 8 runs on 12 hits, no errors. They had no errors the entire game, the entire series. Blue Jays with one error in the series, as they end game 3 with 3 runs, 11 hits, and 1 error. Time now to talk about how this game went down. And a couple of key moments in this series were Rowdy Tellez with a trio of assists in game 1. Sorry, not Rowdy Tellez. I should say Addison Barger with a trio of assists in game 1, throwing out 3 Seattle Mariner players. There was a benches clearing in game number 2, but no benches clear in game 1 or in game 3, and here's how it went down. Here we go. Dylan Moore getting things started with his 5th home run of the season. Fly ball into left center. Not right, it was into left center field. Solo shot for Dylan Moore, his 5th home run of the year. A 2-run shot makes it 3-0 Seattle. Off the bat of Cal Raleigh. Same place, just not in center. Left field is where this one would go. Julio Rodriguez will score on the play. 9th home run of the year for Cal Raleigh. Top of the 2nd inning, and things continued to go Seattle's way. 3 runs scored in back-to-back innings. 2 runs score on a Randy Arozarena single in the top of the second inning. Those were scored by Leo R, as I'll say, and Ben Williamson. Ben Williamson and Leo R score in this play. Julio Rodriguez to second base on the play. Then Mitch Garver hits a single himself. This one scores Julio Rodriguez, and it's a 6-0 parade for the Seattle Mariners. Randy Arozarena goes to third on the play. Runners at the corners, but the Blue Jays get out of that jam. In the bottom of the second inning, it was the Blue Jays' turn to get on the board here. Tyler Heineman with a single. It was deflected off of pitcher Luis Castillo. Addison Barger scores on the play. Will Wagner will advance from first base to second base. And then Bo Bichette scores Will Wagner and sends Nathan Lukes to second base on the play later. So the Blue Jays grab a run on a Tyler Heineman single. They grab another run on a Bo Bichette single. It is 6-2. It is 6-2 Seattle over Toronto after 2 innings of play. Bottom of the third we go. Sac fly for Nathan Lukes. Scores George Springer. Here come the Blue Jays. It is 6-3. It's a 3-point lead for the Mariners after the Nathan Lukes sacrifice fly. But Rowdy Tellez strikes again, his 3rd home run of the season. 4th of the year, 3rd home run of the series, I should say. 4th home run of the season. A fly ball to right field. Mitch Garver scores. It's a 2-run shot. And from up by 3 to up by 5, I'll just double check here, 8-3. I'll just double check my math here to make sure. 8-3. Yep, it would be a 5-run win for Seattle in this one. They won by 4 in extra innings, in 12 innings in Game 2 on Saturday. In Game 3, they win by 5, 8-3. They lost Game 1 to the Blue Jays on Friday, 3-1. Going into Game 2, the records were 12-8 for the Blue Jays and 10-10 for the Mariners. Going into Game 3, records were 11-10 for the Mariners and 12-9 for the Blue Jays. Coming out of the game on Sunday, in which the Mariners took the series 2 games out of 3, the Blue Jays record would be at 12-10. Record for the Mariners also at 12-10. At the end of it, the winning pitcher in game number 3 was Luis Castillo. His record 1-2 coming in. Record is now 2-2. with an ERA of 4.44. Easton Lucas had a record of 2-1 coming into the game. His record is now 2-2. An ERA of 7.41 coming out of the game. Paxton Schultz and Tyler Heineman are the Blue Jay top performers of the game. Paxton pitched 4 1/3, giving up 2 hits, no earned runs, struck out 8 Mariners in his major league debut from a surprise call-up from Buffalo to Toronto. Tyler Heineman, a double and an RBI. He went 3 for 4. He is the other Blue Jay top performer. The player of the game and one of the 2 top performers of this game was Cal Raleigh. A home run, 4 strikeouts, and 2 RBIs, going 1 for 5 in the game. Rowdy Tellez went 1 for 2 with a home run, 2 RBIs, and a run scored. And now for the pitching line. In game number 3, the Blue Jays would go 1 2/3 with Easton Lucas, giving up 7 hits, 6 earned runs. He struck out 5 Mariners, gave up 2 home runs, and also walked 2 Mariners, given his ERA that we mentioned in the win and loss pitching area. Paxton Schultz goes 4 1/3 with 2 hits given up, 8 strikeouts, no runs given up, no walks, no home runs, no ERA resulted. Dylan Tate going an inning and a third with 3 hits given up, 2 runs given up, all earned, 3 strikeouts, 1 home run, no walks. His ERA was 13.50 at the end of the game. The ERA for the last pitcher in this game for Toronto was Mason Fluharte. He goes 1 2. He goes an inning and 2/3, striking out 2 Mariners, nothing more. But his ERA was 2.57 at the end of the game. For the Seattle Mariners, Luis Castillo went 5 innings, giving up 10 hits, 3 earned runs. 5 Blue Jays struck out against him. ERA 44, excuse me. As mentioned, when we did the winning pitcher and losing pitcher there. Next guy up for the or first guy out of the pen, I should say, for the Mariners in this game was Colin Snyder. Goes an inning, gives up nothing, ERA of 3.48. No ERA for this guy, Gabe Spear. I'll go with Gabe S. Gabe, if I pronounced that wrong, I apologize. He was next out, goes an inning, no ERA resulted, struck out 2 Blue Jays, did walk a Blue Jay. He did walk a Blue Jay, but nothing more than that. Former Blue Jay Trent Thornton comes into the game and pitches 1 inning, gives up a hit, and walks 1 batter. His ERA is 3.60 coming out of the game. Then it is Casey Legmina. Oh, maybe I got that right that time. Anyways, we'll go with KCL if I pronounced it wrong. He goes an inning, gives up nothing, and results in no ERA. In the game 2, where we had to go to extra innings, the Mariners use Logan Gilbert, who goes 4 2/3, 7 hits given up, 2 runs earned, 2 walks issued to the Blue Jays in his 4 2/3 innings, 9 strikeouts pitched by Logan Gilbert, ERA of 2.63. Colin Snyder was introduced in this game. This was his first appearance. He had 2 appearances in this series. His first came in game number 2. He went an inning and a third, giving up 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 strikeout, ERA of 3.86. No ERA for KCL, who also pitched in this game. 1 batter walked, 1 strikeout. Next up, Vargas was into the game. Carlos Vargas was into the game. He goes 2 innings, gives up 3 hits. ERA is 2.70. .584 is the ERA for this man. Edward Barazdo. We'll go with EB. In case I pronounced that wrong, apologies if I did. 1 inning of work, nothing really given up, but an ERA of 5.84. No ERA registered for this man, who would take over after that inning of work. Andres Monzo. He went an inning and walked 1 Blue Jays batter, also struck out a Blue Jays batter. No ERA resulted. Casey Lawrence, who also pitched in game 1. He was the only pitcher they used in game 1. Did they use him in game 3? No, they did not. He only pitched in games 2 and in game 1. And in game 2, he pitched 1 inning, gave up 1 run on no hits, and nothing more, an ERA of 3.60. Speaking of game 1, well, we already know Casey Lawrence was the only other pitcher used for Seattle, and his ERA was 4.50. Didn't give up anything, though, in this game. The losing pitcher for the opening game was Brian Wu. His record 2-0 coming in is now 2-1. He pitched 7 innings, gave up 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walked batters, 4 Blue Jays struck out against him. An ERA of 3.12. 3.13 an ERA for Bowden Francis, but he went 6 innings, giving up 5 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, 1 home run. 3.13 was his ERA. His record 1-2, I should say, becomes 2-2. His record was 1-2 coming into the game. Record coming out of the game 2-2. Mason Fluharte was in this game as well. Pitched 2/3 of the game, walked a batter, ends the game with an ERA of 3.38. 3.12 for Chad Green, who pitched the end of that inning, of the 7th inning. Did not pitch the 8th inning. That was given to Jimmy Garcia, who winds up with no ERA in an interesting inning of work and no strikeouts for Jimmy. Jeff Hoffman gets the save, his 5th save of the season. 2 strikeouts, an ERA of 1.59 in the 9th inning of work that he went into. That's his 5th save of the season. No saves recorded in Game 2, but the losing pitcher was Jacob Barnes. His record was 0-0 coming into the game. His record is now 0-1. And the record 0-0 for Andres M. We'll go with Andres M. 0-0 coming into the game, 1-0 coming out of the game. ERAs 900. 9 for Jacob Barnes. No ERA for Andres M. And the winning pitcher was Luis Castillo in game number 3. His record 1-2 is now 2-2. Easton Lucas's record was 2-1. It is now 2-2. And that is your pitching line for all 3 games of this series between the Mariners and the Blue Jays. So it is about time for the players of the series. We'll get to that coming up next. Also coming up next, upcoming series. What's next for the Blue Jays? What's next for the Astros? What happened in one of those series that have already gone final as we speak with you? Who follows the series coming up after the ones that get started today? All that plus next time on Blue Jays Game Recap and where the current standings stand are up next on Blue Jays Game Recap. Stay with us. More from our Triple Trouble wraparound Blue Jays Game Recap in a moment.
What a busy traffic on this Friday evening. I am almost stuck in this traffic for the last 40 minutes. And there is no way, I think, for me to get to the show. The CNT Radio Song Bank, which is going to start very shortly. It's one of my favorite shows. And my, what a way to wind down for the weekend. Perfect 2 hours of fun-filled music. And she has so many great features. Sound of Music, Undercover, Foreign Exchange. Name that tune. And the big wheel that she spins. For Who's That? Or Where Are We? We cannot forget about the international stage. I have never come across such a great show in my life. I think I will have to press hard on my accelerator and go as fast as I can to get home in time. Wow! Wow! Look! I made it! I am almost there! Sienna Tea Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Welcome back in, Blue Jays fans and Mariners fans, to Blue Jays game recap. Players of the series coming up in just a little bit. Also, upcoming series for the Blue Jays and the Mariners coming up in just a little bit as well. But before we get to that, and before we get to the players of the series, we're going to get into that a little bit, in just a little bit. So some key things to look at here. Addison Barger had a nice day in a 3-1 win over the Mariners on Friday. Yes, he was 0 for 4 in the game, but he had a really nice headline there on Friday, stealing people's stolen bases. And why did I say stealing people's stolen bases? Because he threw out every single Mariner. He threw out 3 Mariners who tried to score runs or steal a base, whether that be home plate, third base, in particular, second base. But he threw people out 3 times. He had a cannon of an arm. What a day for him. Of course, we got to talk about the incident that happened in the 4th inning of Game 2 of this game. The benches did clear, and according to Theo De Rosa, who did this article on the day of the game, actually I should say prior to the game on Sunday, benches clear as Barrios accuses Raleigh of relaying pitches. Well, I mean, we're not going to play the audio, but this was happening as Jamie Campbell at the Rogers Center was providing a Blue Jays Central update. And if you have seen the video, you can see, I'm going to provide my own little telecast here of it. You can see Jose and everybody, Cal Raleigh, and you could see, I think it had to do with something that was being said by Jose. I don't really know what was being said, even though I was there. I couldn't really hear it from where we are, or from where I was sitting at the Rogers Center when I was there. But Theo De Rosa brings up the following in the article here. Blue Jays pitcher Jose Barrios accused Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh of relaying pitch types to Raleigh's Seattle teammates from second base during Saturday's game at Rogers Center, an allegation Raleigh denies. Raleigh said to the media, or MLB.com's Daniel Kramer, if I pronounced that wrong, I apologize, after the Mariners' 8-4 win in 12 innings, he said, "They thought I was relaying. I wasn't." Barrios confronted Raleigh after the top of the 4th inning causing both benches to clear. Berrios told MLB.com's Keegan Matheson, shout out to my boy Keegan, he didn't intend to escalate the situation, but wanted to prevent opposing hitters from having a potential edge, saying, I didn't feel like the benches were going to go out, but between the hitter and I, it's a war, Berrios said. He also added, I am there by myself, and I know that hitters can take advantage of many people. As a pitcher, I can't let that happen. Yes, you can't. Barrios also said, when some people are trying to fight with us on the field, I don't respect that, and I don't like that. I was trying to stand up for myself, but also my teammates. Raleigh pointed out that Rowdy Tellez, the next hitter to come up, looked way off balance as Tellez struck out for the inning's second out. Dylan Moore popped out in foul ground to end the frame. Still, Raleigh said he understood Barrios' reaction to the perceived slight, saying, I didn't have the pitches, but that's just how it is. I'd want my pitchers to my pitchers doing the same thing if somebody thought they were tipping. Now, Blue Jays manager John Schneider also spoke after the game and said, I like when our guys are sticking up for themselves. This was on the matter as well. He called it fair game, but he also, too, backed up Barrios. I'll say information. Look, regardless on what happened, we know what happened, and as much as we want to say, if you did this, then this would happen, sports are things where you never really can predict who's going to win the game. It's a matter, I guess, of luck and chance and being at the right place in the right time, but that's how I feel about it. And then, of course, Rowdy Tellez, as I mentioned, 3 home runs in the series, 1 on Sunday, 1 on Saturday, and 1 on Friday. Very good key moments in the game and in the series. All right, players of the series coming up shortly. But here's a look at our standings as we proceed to start wrapping this one up. The New York Yankees, who the Blue Jays will face today until Sunday, are 15-10 and leading the American League East, or in short, the AL East, at 15 wins and 10 losses. The Boston Red Sox are not far behind the New York Yankees at 14-13. Baltimore and Tampa Bay are 10-14 as we speak. And the Blue Jays record right now heading into the series with the Yankees are 12-13. Oh, I want to make sure that I actually correct that there for the Rays. The Rays are 11-14. The Orioles, however, are 10-14. So that's just a correction there. Orioles are last place in the AL East right now. The Rays are 4th at 11-14. The Orioles are 10-14. Blue Jays are 12-13. Boston is 14-13. The Yankees are 15-10. And in the NL East, where the AL East, I should say, AL West, excuse me. The Mariners' record is 14-11. They have taken over first place in the AL West after finishing a series with Toronto, and both teams' records were at 12-10. The record right now is 14-11 for Seattle, 14-11 for Texas Rangers. They are behind Seattle right now. Houston is also behind them at 13-11. We have a 12-12 record for the Los Angeles Angels, and the Athletics are 12-13. Now, elsewhere, the Braves were a team the Blue Jays faced before they faced the Mariners. Their record right now is 10-14. The Nationals are 11-14. Miami is 11-13. Philadelphia is 13-12. And the New York Mets are 18-7 right now. As we roll in through our regular season, right now the top dogs in the league are the New York Yankees, Detroit Tigers, Cleveland Guardians, Seattle Mariners, and the Texas Rangers, along with the Houston Astros, Boston Red Sox, and more. In the American League, the top dogs go all the way down to Seattle. I should say go all the way down to Chicago White Sox, who are the last team in the American League. The last team in the National League right now are the Colorado Rockies, who have lost 20 games this season. But when we look at it from an expanded position, no, actually things are the same here. Regardless, the Yankees are one of the top teams in the league. Now in the entire MLB, what do we got? You got the Mets, Padres, Giants, Dodgers, Cubs, Tigers, Yankees, Guardians. So the Blue Jays are a little bit at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the league, but they are not bottom of the barrel. The bottom of the barrel is Chicago White Sox and the Colorado Rockies. Also down at the bottom of the barrel in the league for MLB in general, the Twins, Pirates, Cardinals, Orioles, Braves, Nationals, Rays, Marlins, Royals. Those teams are all behind Toronto. And ahead of Toronto, you got the Reds, Athletics, Angels, Brewers, Red Sox, Phillies, Astros, Rangers, Mariners, Diamondbacks, Guardians, Yankees, Tigers, Cubs, Dodgers, Giants, Padres, and Mets. What a difference a couple of games into the year makes this season. What a difference it makes. All right. I don't want to keep us any longer than we already have been. So, without further ado, our standings for the Blue Jays so far are 12-13 in a record, and the Mariners are 14-11 as we speak. At the end of this series, they were 12-10. Both teams were 12-10. Players of the series, you know what? We kind of jumped into that when we were talking about some key moments. So I'm going to go ahead and give Rowdy Tellez the player of the series for Seattle. Really thought he had a nice game 3. Despite coming into pinch hit. And of course, he had a nice game in game number 2. And in game number 1, he had a really interesting game too. Speaking of game 1, that is where we will find our player of the series for the Blue Jays. And that's going to go to Addison Barger. Despite going 0 for 4. Despite going 0 for 4. Addison Barger had a day on Friday night. He had a night. 1, 2, 3 guys, 3 Mariners, throwing out trying to steal. When are they going to learn? Addison and Rowdy Tellez, your players of the series from Toronto and, of course, Seattle. So, what's next? Well, first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, as we start with Seattle, after the series with the Blue Jays ended, after the series with the Toronto Blue Jays ended, they began the remainder of their 9-game homestand. 9-game road trip, I should say, in which they took 2 out of 3 against Boston, winning 8-5 on Wednesday, and then yesterday 4-3. They lost game 1 8-3, but beat Boston in Fenway Park 4-3 on Thursday. Beat the Red Sox 8-5 on the 23rd, which was a Wednesday. And upcoming series for them, they've got the Marlins today. Starting on Tuesday, they will start a 2-game set against the Angels at 9:40 p.m. Eastern, 6:40 p.m. Pacific, 8:40 p.m. Central. And that will drop them into their May schedule, where they will hit the road for 3 against the Texas Rangers, including May 4th, which is a American holiday. And may the 4th be with you. Then the Athletics will host the Mariners for 3 games before the Blue Jays face the Mariners one more time. We will have that for you. And then, of course, that is a 6-game homestand where the Blue Jays will be in town and the Yankees will be in town in Seattle. Speaking of the Blue Jays and the Yankees, they will do battle for the first time this regular season of many in the Bronx this season, with game 1 starting tonight at 7:05 p.m. Eastern, 6:05 p.m. Central, 4:05 p.m. Pacific. That series wraps up on Sunday. A 3-game series to kick open another 6-game homestand, where the Red Sox will be in town and then the Guardians are also in town. The Red Sox will be in Toronto from Tuesday, April the 29th, that's this Tuesday coming up, until May the 1st. All 3 of these games are night games for the Red Sox and the Jays. The Guardians will have 2 day games with the Blue Jays. After the first night game, which kicks off their 3-game set and wrapping up that 6-game homestand, it kicks off with City Connect Fridays at 7:07 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:07 p.m. Central, 4:07 p.m. Pacific. And with that said, next up on Blue Jays Game Recap, we will be covering the Guardians and the Red Sox series. Those will come your way on May 5th, 2025 in a Double Trouble Blue Jays Game Recap edition. But on Monday this week, the 28th of April, we will wrap up that series with the Yankees on our next Blue Jays Game Recap. Look forward to talking with you then. Here are the men on the mound. First off, oh, I can't really do that from the schedule side. Okay, that's fine. First off, although the Blue Jays won Game 1 against the Mariners 3-1, they lost 8-4 on Saturday. They also lost 8-3 on Sunday. Kicking things off, we've got these matchups for the Yankees and the Blue Jays. As we'll do a quick meeting on the mound here for both of these contests. The Blue Jays will go with Jose Berrios against Carlos Carrasco. Carlos Carrasco and Jose Berrios will get the balls tonight. Max Fried and Kevin Gossman will get the ball on Saturday. And then Sunday, down in the Bronx, it will be Chris Bassett versus Schmidt. And that ought to be a good one. That ought to be a good one. I believe that it will be Chris Bassett versus Clark Schmidt. Yep, there you go, Clark Schmidt. So it's Clark Schmidt versus Chris Bassett on Sunday. Max Fried versus Kevin Gossman on Saturday. And Jose Berrios versus Carlos Carrasco tonight. I say tonight because today is Friday, April 25th, 2025. And so with that being said, that'll do it for this episode of Blue Jays Game Recap. That'll do it for this version of Blue Jays Game Recap, part of a Triple Trouble with Pittsburgh Penguins hockey and much more still to come. You've got the Braves recap and this recap coming up soon. 2 Sports for Beginners. Hopefully you'll check it out. And speaking of which, I hope you'll check us out from the Bronx. Of course, we'll be recording all the games from the Bronx. We'll be recording our recap of all those games from the Bronx, weather permitting. Weather permitting. That's right, you heard me. Weather permitting. We don't know if this 3-game series with the Yankees will be a 2-game series or just one. Who knows? We might have a doubleheader on the weekend. We don't know. What we do know is we will be back with you for that series on our next Blue Jays game recap, and we hope to see you again soon. The Mariners took 2 out of 3, winning Saturday and Sunday 8-4 in 12 innings of play, and 8-3 in 9 innings of play on Sunday. They lost Game 1 3-1 on Friday, and those were the games at Rogers Center. With that being said, that'll do it for this episode. We will see you after the game in the Bronx. The games in the Bronx between the Blue Jays and the Yankees. Until then, I am Scott McGregor. Thank you so much for being with us. Wishing you, if you are driving to the game or driving home from work or whatever the case may be, a safe ride home or a safe ride down to the park. And if you've been listening, not driving, but listening to the show or watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe to the Weekly in Sports with Scott YouTube channel if you really like this. Tell all of your friends. Blue Jays take 1 out of 3 against the Seattle Mariners. The homestand goes with 2 victories against the Braves, 1 loss to the Braves, and 1 win against the Mariners and 2 losses. They go 3-3 in 6 games at home before they hit the road for a 6-game road trip that started with a blunder, but hopefully it ends with a bang. Yankees, Blue Jays, next time on Blue Jays Game Recap. Hope to talk to you then. We'll see you next time. Oh, and remember, Blue Jay fans, lights up. Let's go.
Thank you so much for joining us on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, for Blue Jays Game Recap, the after show on Sports for Beginners, the podcast, right after every Blue Jays game. To learn more about upcoming episodes, when they drop, and schedule, please visit https://sportsforbeginners0.wordpress.com. Follow the show on Facebook at facebook.com/sportsforbeginners87. Send us an email at sportsforbeginners87@gmail.com. Follow Ali, Thomas, and Scott on Twitter at Scott McGregor 3, Thomas J, and ALI Musa. Follow Thomas and Scott on Instagram at SMC_87_ and TM_80 and TM00_. Thanks for listening to Blue Jays Baseball, and we hope to see you soon again. This has been Blue Jays Game Recap. Once again, the website is https:// sportsforbeginners0.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening. And when it's time for the Blue Jays to play ball, there's only one chant Blue Jays fans will be using. Catch you later, baseball fans.